Well, while Labor appears to be home on November 26, you heard what the man just said, so the polls say a victory is not so assured in Dan Andrews' own seat of Mulgrave. Now there, the chairman is facing stiff and highly credible competition with a lot of support from Sluggate victim Ian Cook, who's been campaigning using his Cook, not crook slogan in Mulgrave. He joins us right now. Ian, thank you very much for your time once again. What's life like as a budding politician with many weeks now under your belt? You're starting to get the hang of this?
I don't think I'll ever get the hang of it, Chris. I certainly didn't set out to become a politician. But after discussing it with my wife and deciding I couldn't keep complaining about corruption and legislation that I didn't like, I said, you know what, if you're going to complain, you've got to stand up and do something about it, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
What kind of feedback are you getting, seriously, on the streets, knocking on doors? What's the overwhelming sentiment once you explain who you are, what you've been through and what you're campaigning about?
Okay, two parts to the answer to that, Chris, is one, incredibly positive. And I'm not going to suggest that everybody that walks past me or talks to me or whatever is saying. We get people saying, no, I'm still going to vote Labor. But they are seriously in the minority of the people that talk to me.
Right.
Some people I speak to and I say I'm covering corruption and other issues, but when talking about corruption is because of what happened to my family and how our business was destroyed, as a lot of the media know, by, amongst other things, a slug. Then they say, oh, you're that Ian Cook, so you get this recognition. I can also tell you about 60 or 70% of the people who come up to me in shopping centres and markets already know the backstory, already realise that corruption is wrong, and that the levers for that need to be fixed. And it can't ever happen to another small business, not only in the seat of Mulgrave, but anywhere. So overwhelmingly, it is positive. And to be honest, when I started this, I didn't expect anywhere near the support and the recognition of these issues within the seat. I mean, I knew we had a lot of followers around the state, but it's just quite incredible.
Do you find, especially in the last 2 weeks, when we've had, I guess, a regeneration of the old baggage stories involving Dan Andrews, the car crash and other instances, do you think there might be, as my previous guest indicated, a bit of a twist in the tale now, with about 13 days to go, that people are remembering the baggage, being reminded of it, it's taking the focus off his policies and the gloss is starting to come off? Are you seeing a change now in the campaign?
Yes, in fact, we were already seeing it before, because we were getting a lot of people who were talking to us, whether they were small business owners, whether they worked for small businesses, etc. A number of issues that came up. In terms of the lockdowns and everything, they still really hurt. All of the Christian vote, all of the Orthodox vote in the area, they literally say they will never forgive him for what they describe as banishing Christ from Victoria for that period of time by closing the churches. There is a lot of ill feeling, and that's within this seat. Now, I don't know about the rest of Victoria and polls, etc. I can only tell you what people are talking to me about on the ground. I can also tell you in the last couple of, since the Herald Sun ran its story, particularly with mothers and women who come up and just say, you know, how could he do this? They are saying that there's clearly a lie between what was told and what the Herald Sun has shown. And really, it gets to a point where you're looking at a situation, and I say myself as a father, you're standing there and you're seeing a kid dying by the roadside who's about to lose 90% of his spleen, and you don't see the child and the humanity, you see a political problem. That's what's happening in the seat of Mulgrave. That's what people are talking about.
I just don't get it. You know, as someone who spends a lot of time in New South Wales and has done for most of his life, I've seen premiers in the state of New South Wales resign because of an errant bottle of champagne, another one resigning, pulling the plug, walking away because of a bad boyfriend, and yet we've got corruption allegation after corruption allegation against his government. The least he could be accused of is allowing things to go pass him by and not do anything about it, and suddenly forget certain details that are vital, and yet he's still there. I don't get it. Can you explain that to the rest of Australia?
What I can tell you is there's a lot of people who've come to me and said if his memory's that bad, then he should resign as Premier anyway. And then there's others that come up and say, we all know that that's a con. We all know that he can remember. He just gives the answer that is required to try and bat back the stuff that's happened. And you know what? Let's put it this way. He cannot show his face in Mulgrave. He can't come and talk to anyone. He has turned up once, and it was 8:30 on a Sunday morning to announce in front of the Noble Park RSL his veterans card. Nobody was there. Nobody was around. He would have been heckled if he had turned up.
So you think if he turned up to public events in Mulgrave, he'd be heckled endlessly?
I have no doubt. So many people have this pent-up anger towards him that I have no doubt that, and it's already happened in other areas, but I have no doubt if he came to Mulgrave, that's exactly what would happen to him. So basically what he's doing is he's fallen back on to defend himself against people like me, apart from the changes they made to the Electoral Act to make it much more difficult for an independent like myself. He's just outspending me. And we've already got reports. He's promised, $10 million to all the sporting clubs. And he's outspending us with not only taxpayers' money, but the money that fires into him from the union movement, which I can't get anywhere near the size of donations that he can get. Our whole campaign relies on the goodness of people around Australia giving us small donations.
But they have been incredible to you, Ian Cook. And I know, for those who don't know and don't live in Melbourne, you've actually got a major party-like campaign bus. They have been incredibly generous. And you're getting donations right around Australia, aren't you?
We are indeed, and for that I am very grateful because it has been an incredibly tough road with the changes they made to the Electoral Act. I'm not sure whether your listeners know, but the maximum donation I can get is $4,000 approximately from any one person. Dan Andrews, he can get 150, 200,000 from a union.
It's an outrage.
That's the way this guy has cheated. It is. It's just flat out cheating. And the one thing Australians don't like are cheats.
Yeah. This is like Joe Bjelke-Petersen's gerrymander. This is Dan Andrews' gerrymander. I want to ask you one other question. Just in Mulgrave, where are all the preferences going? What are the Greens doing with you? What's the Liberal Party candidate doing with your votes?
Okay, so let's talk about the Greens first because they are the hypocrites in this. The Greens are standing with Lim in the electorate, Robert Lim, and they're saying they're standing on a platform of integrity and against corruption. And they say that the Labor Party is corrupt. They've told the local paper that, and that's it. So we said, oh, great, that's our platform. So we went to them and we said, if that's the case, let's talk about preferences. And what were we told? No way, we are preferencing Labor above everyone.
Hypocrites.
What? Hang on a sec. You just lied to the local paper?
Yeah.
I mean, get real.
Yeah.
You cannot. This just puts an underline under it. You cannot trust the Greens. They will say or do whatever they think, and
weak as water. What about the Libs? What about the Libs?
Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what the Libs are doing. I believe they will be preferencing myself second.
Good.
We are preferencing a couple of other independents, and then they'll be a bit further down the list. But it's like I said right in the beginning, we're not going into this race on the basis of left or right. We're going on the basis of right and wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Corruption is never right, and there is also other legislation that needs to be seriously looked at, and I intend, if I'm lucky enough to be the next member for Mulgrave, I intend being a voice they never expected to hear in this Parliament.
I cannot wait until David beats Goliath on the 26th of November. Good luck, Ian Cook. Well done.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to all your listeners.
There you go. That bloke has all the makings of a wonderful representative. Just fantastic.